I've figured it out. I I've done I've got it on the board. I've figured it out. Has your team won a Stanley Cup in the last 25 years? That was rigged. See, and what I figured out is this. All of these teams were jerseys. Every last one of them. All of these teams won Stanley Cups by scoring more goals than the other team. What are the odds of that? Vegas. Oh, Vegas makes odds. Vegas makes Stanley Cups. See, it's rigged in 2018, and 3 of the 4 teams that are still alive have never won a Stanley Cup, and one of those happens to be Vegas, who didn't exist before this year. Isn't that coincidental? Did your team lose? You know why your team lost? Refs. And if your team won, you know what? Your team won despite the refs, because the refs tried to screw you over. The refs work for the NHL. The NHL works for Bettman, and Bettman, he doesn't work for anybody. You think Bettman works for the owners. He doesn't work for anybody. He works for himself. That's right. He signs his own checks. That's why he makes $46 million a year, and he's been paying me about 84 grand a month. We live in a crappy house, and I make my own magnets because we want to be quaint. And now, here's the thing. Gary Bettman takes over in 1993. Now, if you add that's 10, that adds up to a 22, and that's 22. That doesn't go anywhere. 1 plus 9 plus 9. Okay. Now, if you multiply by that doesn't work. Bettman made sure that wouldn't work. Now, here's the thing. Bettman comes into the league in 93. What does he think? He thinks, I want Vegas to win a Stanley Cup. No, wait. I want Washington to win a Stanley Cup, but I don't want them to do it now. So he goes to Pittsburgh and says, can you guys beat the Capitals a lot? And they're like, all right. So they beat the Capitals a lot because he doesn't want people to know that he secretly wants Washington to win. That's why he goes to their games when they lose. And this has been this big setup that's taken 25 years to get to the Capitals winning a Stanley Cup, and he made sure that none of us would really figure it out. But I got all unless Vegas wins. If Vegas wins, it's all rigged because the NHL went to all the GMs and said, "Be stupid," and the GMs went, "All right," and they gave Vegas whatever they wanted to make sure Vegas would have a good team because that was the plan. See. Expansion teams are supposed to be crap, except when they're not, of course, which we don't remember that Tampa was actually pretty good right out of the gates, and Florida was pretty good out of the gates, and Florida made it to the Stanley Cup final in 96, which was rigged because Colorado won it in a sweep. Who wins in a sweep in the Stanley Cup? Well, Jersey did it in 95. No, Detroit did it in 90. You know what? It doesn't matter. Because, see, it was all rigged, because Detroit, I remember when the Rangers won, and everybody said it's rigged, and that's why it's the only time the Rangers have won since 1940. Because Bettman took over and said, I want the Rangers to win, and then the Rangers won, and people said it was rigged. So Bettman said, oh, well, all right, I can't let the Rangers win again, because they figured me out. So he gave it to New Jersey, and people are like, falling asleep, because it's the trap. So he let Jersey have it 2 more times. Then he moves Quebec to Colorado. Denver, Mile High City. People will pass out, because it's the air's thinner up there, so he can give them 2 Stanley Cups because everybody's passed out. Detroit, on the other hand, gets 4 Stanley Cups because kick-ass logo. And Gordie Howe makes everything better. And Dallas, why did Dallas get a cup? Because it wasn't Minnesota. That's why Dallas got a cup. But they only got 1 because otherwise it would have looked rigged. So he doesn't let them have any more. So it goes back to these 3 teams because, you can't have a real dynasty, but you can't have non-dynasties either. So you give them enough so that people can go, maybe they're a dynasty, maybe they're not. And other people are like, it's rigged. And then in 2006, it went to Carolina because it had to go to a Southern team because Bettman loves Southern teams, except Washington. He loves Washington. That's why they're not allowed to win. And then in 2007, he let Anaheim have it because he always liked the Mighty Ducks movie, and he really wanted them. And then they got rid of their logo, and he felt sad, so he let them have there's no logo on their jersey. I have it. There's no logo. And so he let them have it because they didn't have a logo. Go buy a logo. Here's your cup. Then he gave it back to Detroit for that 4th time because it's rigged. And then it went to Pittsburgh because Crosby. They want Crosby to win it every year, except when he doesn't, which is most of the time. But that's just so you won't realize how rigged it is. 2010, he let Chicago have it for the first time since 1961. What happened in 1961? I don't actually know. I wasn't born then. But stuff happened to Bobby Hull, and Bobby Hull, who's his kid? Brett Hull. Brett Hull, Detroit, and Dallas. So there's a connection. It's a Hull connection. It's a Hull of a connection right here. What rhymes with Hull? Hell. Who's from Hell? Gary Bettman. 2011, Boston wins it. Why? Bobby Orr. Who did Orr play with? Bobby Hull. Not on the same team. They played in the league at the same time. It's the Hull connection. Now, 2012, it goes to the Kings. Kings came in the 1968 expansion. Oh, who played back then? Bobby Hull. You guys are all mad at Gary Bettman. You're mad at the wrong guy. Who was at Game 1 for the Winnipeg Jets? Bobby Hull. Bobby Hull's rigging the whole damn thing. The Hawks have had 3 Stanley Cups. His kid had what, 2, 3 Stanley Cups too? It's all rigged. There's more Hull all over this cup than any Canadian. And Bobby Hull's kid, what team did he play for? He was on the American team. Why? Bettman. Bettman put him on the American team. It was Bettman's fault that Team Canada passed on him at the World Juniors, and he was on the American team because Gary Bettman set that up. This is the thing. See, the refs are all in the pocket of the NHL, which is in the pocket of Gary Bettman. All the owners answer to him. They all answer to him through the burning effigies they have. I'm pretty sure they got the effigy thing wrong. But the idea's there. And see, this year, no matter who wins, it's a conspiracy. If it's Washington, it's a conspiracy because Bettman always wanted to give the Capitals a cup by screwing them for years. He wanted Vegas to have a cup because he didn't give them an expansion team. He gave it to San Jose, Tampa, and Ottawa, and Minnesota, and Columbus, and Nashville, and Atlanta. And then he gave Winnipeg back a team because he wanted to give it to Vegas, but he didn't want to give it to him in '93 because they'd be like, we don't have a building. And he'd be like, oh, crap. So he had to wait till they'd put up a building first. And Winnipeg, if they win, it's all rigged because people in Canada have got it figured out. And of course, if it goes back to Tampa, it's rigged because they're a southern city and they had it before. No matter what happens, it's rigged. It's not that the referees didn't see it. It's that the referees saw it. And somebody in their ear said, you didn't see it. So they didn't see it because they saw it and they were told they didn't see it. Do you see? I see. Do you see now? I see. I understand what's happening. Now, people think, well, the Oilers missed the playoff because they suck. No, because suck backwards is cuss. And I've seen a lot of cussing in the comment section after every time a team that you cheer for loses. And I understand because it's all on the refs. But in reality, it's all on Bettman. And what do I know? I'm on the take. I'm a part of this. It's my fault. Look, who do I cheer for? Boston, 2011, right? Who do I cheer for? Dallas, 99 plus 11 equals 110. So those are numbers, and they add up to equal 110. And there's 110 reasons why clearly Bettman wants me to have Stanley Cups, but not the Canucks because they're Canadian and they're not allowed to have a Stanley Cup. Has nothing to do with the fact that they didn't show up in Game 7 of 2011 at all. Nothing. Or in Game 7 of 1994 when, the Rangers beat them because Nathan Lafayette hit the post. Did you know that post was widened by 2 inches in that split second that Gary Bettman was watching that game? Watch it in freeze frame. The post expands because they're kind of made of this marshmallow fabric and they expand. So when a puck goes off of a post and it's a Canadian team that hits that post, Gary Bettman made it happen. This is all part of the plot. And if you deny it, you're part of the plot. See, that's the beauty of this. If I deny that this huge thing happens, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different teams have won a Stanley Cup since Bettman took over. 12 when he took over in 93, so that equals 105. That doesn't go anywhere either, but you take 5 away from 110, you get 105. Aha! There you go. I'm all part of this thing because there's 5 reasons for that. Because there's 4 Stanley Cups for Detroit, or you add New Jersey and Colorado, and that's an avalanche of Devils, which I'm wearing red, so avalanche of Devils. And that's 5, and that equals, and there you go. So the real thing here is, beginning with the War of 1812, all of this was set up. All of this was set up by Gary Bettman, who was a general at the War of 1812. That's right, he's 240 years old. He's 240 years old. He's a vampire. Everybody thinks he's a lawyer. He's a vampire. And he's a vampire that really, really likes to see teams in red win. Look at this. Red. Maroon, which is a kind of a red. Red. Oh, Capitals wear red. What a surprise. Almost half of the teams that have won the Stanley Cup, red. Ipso facto, I'm right. There you go. It's all a giant conspiracy. No matter what happens from here for the rest of the playoffs, no matter who wins, it's a conspiracy. Everybody's right. I got to figure out something else to do with my life. Thanks for watching.